Yes.
Hanji, good to see you, Mahesh, after so many years.
How many years is that? 24, you said, huh?
It's 80, 81, 82, something like that. Must be about nearly 30, 35 years, 40 years.
Yeah. It just looks like a blink of an eye.
Absolutely. But
Time is just...
I've been following your success from one to the other, and I'm so proud of you and everything that you've achieved in life. I'm very proud of you, Mahesh, really. From where we started in 80s in that little small flat on the ground floor with Pooja in your arms and Kiran upstairs on the fourth floor. And we used to walk around, and then, of course, as you said, with all the gallons of whiskey that we...
When I think of Rajan Lall, I think of that small little patch which was allocated to me in that building called Green Acres in the Beverly Hills of Bombay, Mumbai, which was Pali Hill. And we lived in a very elite space. Our neighbors were the great Philip Saab, Sunil Dutt, they were in our neighborhood. And this was this lovely little building called Green Acres, and there was this, I had this place where we lived, and there was I didn't have a car in those days. I couldn't afford a car. I was a guy who was barely managing to keep the wolf away from the door. And I had a daughter, and I was Kiran. And one day, this guy who came and occupied the ground floor, a small little place in the ground floor. As soon as you entered the building, on the right side, there was this, I remember there used to be an air conditioner. You had to pass, and then you should come right, and there was Rajan Lall aboard. So one day, this guy comes up to me and says that, look, hey, you don't have a car. So can I use that space to park my car? And I think he had a Mercedes, a white Mercedes, if my memory is right.
Yeah.
Did you have a white Mercedes? Yeah, I think my memory is intact.
Yes.
And so that was the kind of a meeting ground. I mean, I said, yes, of course. I mean, what I don't use is yours. And so he used to park his car, and then there was something very warm about him. And he was a bit of us. I mean, he was a renegade. He was a kind of he had a rebellious streak in him, which kind of found some kind of connect with me, because I was born an outsider. I always lived life on the edge. And he didn't seem to take exception to that side of me. Otherwise, most of the people you meet ask you to conform to the mainstream narrative, why aren't you this, and why aren't you this, and why aren't you this? And there was a generosity about him. He looked at me you will never forget in life what people make you feel when you're down and out and struggling. And in our business, self-doubt is a constant. It shadows you. You never know whether the idea that you're thinking of will find takers, first of all, to back you and put their money into it. And if they do, will it go into the big bad world and find acceptance? Will the people embrace it? And I, for some reason, I had a disastrous start. I had my 20s were very turbulent. I had made movies which had not worked. And I had just recovered from my extramarital affair with an actor of great repute, and who had a crack up. I mean, she had crumbled into the abyss because of an attack of schizophrenia. And so those life burns were there on me, and I had somehow managed to draw from my personal life and put together a narrative called Arth, and that Arth became
legendary
my rebirth. The kind of rebirth, it made me find my voice, and it kind of birthed me and gave me the place to stand in the ring to fight one more round. And but Arth was not an easy ride, because though I shot it in my own flat, I used to shoot it in my own flat, give Mr. Kulbhushan Kharbanda, the actor, my own clothes.
Okay.
Shabana was generous enough to wear her own clothes and also bring clothes for Smita Patil, because because Smita was not the most well-dressed person in the industry, because she was from a middle-class Maharashtrian background. So it was a kind of a movie which was put together with amateur zeal, and but it had its heart in the right place. The great Jagjit Singh, I remember, gave his heart to it, the great Katisa. So Arth was born and there in that place, and I struggled to make Arth see the light of the day because of its unorthodox ending, where the wife walks away.
Yeah.
And what was pathbreaking but Arth was that it looked at the whole human relationship, man-woman relationship, from the perspective of the woman. Right. Otherwise, till then, the narrative was always the man. It was the patriarchal kind of gaze. And so it took a lot of time for it to work. And those days when I used to be perennially unemployed and not enough money to buy booze, so Rajan Lalji was generous enough to open the door to his plush, small little, well-done bag and give me gallons of black label whiskey, which was unimaginable to consume in those days. And his generosity, and he listened. He had the capacity to listen to you. And he made me hear songs. He loved music. He had an artistic kind of gene in him, hardwired. And so I think then my friends who came to meet me came to meet him. Like Anupam is somebody who he saw knock at my door and then almost get ostracized even before the film was started, and then he saw him come into his own. So when Rajan called me from the mist of time, suddenly his voice came, and Rajan Lall, I was filled with a feeling of great warmth and with great gratitude for what he made me feel in those days, because it's the kindness of what you call strangers that sustains the world. And he was a stranger who became a friend. And I also remember, Rajan, do you remember? I needed money. I was writing the script of Saaransh.
That's right.
He's mentioned it.
Yeah. And I wanted money, because you had to give a certain amount of money to the NFDC.
Yes.
Yeah, to kind of ask them to screen.
उस वक्त 10 लाख रुपए मिलते थे NFDC से पिक्चर बनाने के लिए. तो मैं अमेरिका गया था और मैंने तुमको लाख रुपए देके गया था.
Yeah, you gave me some money and I went and took it to
you took it to UG Krishnamurthy.
Yeah. Some kind of. So I think he was at the source of my journey. That's why I'm saying that, when we look back and we claim to ourselves that we have risen to dizzying heights, we forget the contribution of people who, held your hand and picked you up when you were filled with self-doubt, remorse. And I guess that's how the world runs. And he who claims that, I did it on my own, does not know that own was backed by many anonymous people. So Rajan, this is a moment to say a big thank you to you for all that you have been.
I am blessed to have had you in my life. Mahesh, you've taught me so much without you realizing it, because I remember when you used to have a drink at home, रोज शाम को घंटी बजती थी और बोलते थे आ जाओ दारू निकालो, और and I am still a teetotaler and never drank in my life, and you know that.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So imagine the situation at 4 a.m. in the morning with Mahesh lying on the floor with his legs crossed, and me, totally teetotaler, coming down to his level with Kulbhushan, Anupam, with Anil Kapoor, with Shafi, with all these people sitting around at night till 4, and Mahesh in the center of it and talking at that level. I mean, it was an experience, and I can never forget. Those were the best years of my life, Mahesh, between 80 and 87. And then Kuljit Pal coming, the producer of Arth.
Yeah, he passed away recently.
He passed away.
Yeah, about 2 months ago.
Okay, because his wife passed away earlier, I think.
Yeah.
So that and उस वक्त वो Arth जो है वो, it was not being sold.
Yeah.
Having difficulty in selling it.
Yeah.
I remember going to Rashtri's office, Rajan Prajatia's office. Remember with and showing him the film, and then selling Hyderabad and Bombay for 9 lakhs of rupees. And
Yeah.
I don't know whether he got any share or not, whatever. I also remember, Mahesh, a situation where Amitabh wanted to see Arth, and in theater with Prakash Mehra's
Amitabh, Kamal Hassan, and Yash ji.
Kamal Hassan, Vani Ganpati, Yash and Pam Chopra, and Amitabh and Jaya. And they came to see the film, and you, me, and Kuljit were sitting there in front to show him the film. And after seeing the film, Silsila had just flopped. And I could turn around and see Amitabh getting furious at Yash ji. कहता ये होती picture, तुमको picture बनानी नहीं आती, क्या करते हो तुम? And he was telling him, this is what picture is. And I remember those.
Well, I don't have that memory, but you seem to have that memory.
I have that memory very clearly in my mind, very clearly. And he said, ये होती picture, तुमको picture बनानी आती, ये होती है picture. You know, that kind of.
I think you and Kuljit went, because I remember meeting Mr. Bachchan later on. I used to go from my house to Ketana, which was a dubbing and a preview theater in New Park. And I used to go there because we used to get to make free phone calls from there. The phone calls used to be expensive. And I used to having a relationship with Sony.
Sony at that time, I remember, yes.
Alia's mother.
Yes.
And so I used to go there, and there was a friend of mine who used to make. So I remember when I went there to make a free call, I saw Mr. Bachchan standing there. So he was having an intimate conversation. So I stepped back and he saw me. And he took his time. Then he almost walked in and came back. And then he said, I watched your film, Arth. So I looked at him and I said, looked at him, because when you make movies and big people who are stars and icons have an opinion, you wait for that. So he looked at me, and there was a silence, I remember, which I didn't fill up, because I was so deeply convinced about my film that it was something which came from my heart and it will work. So he looked at me and said, nice. He says, nice, very nice.
Yeah, that's it.
And I just nodded, smiled. So he just turned back, he walked away, and I remember that moment distinctly. But maybe you had gone to Kuljit to show.
I think I had gone with Kuljit. Well, I have a feeling that you were also there, but I don't know. I don't remember.
Maybe, But he did like it very much.
He did. He was actually talking to Yash with a very angry tone. I could see that.
Yeah, I remember saying this, that look, extramarital affairs don't take place in tulip gardens.
Yes.
You know, in,
Well said.
in Holland.
Yeah.
Extramarital affairs take place in seedy hotels and
Yeah.
dark lanes and by lanes. And I said, so that it had a ring of authenticity. That's
Yeah.
why Arth worked. And it, you see, anything that comes from your bleeding wound
Yes.
has throb and the pulse of life. And so that is, and that's different from a manufactured story.
Yeah.
So, no matter they were very great filmmakers, but there's something about real life which is head and shoulders above the crafted works of, which are born out of imagination.
Talking of real life, Mahesh, I remember you and me having very intimate, detailed conversation. Rajan, tell me about your life. Well, I just left my wife and I was in a relationship with Savina. And tell me what happened. Tell me details. Mahesh had this habit of catching one man and then squeezing the details of all his episodes in life out of you. And then as Mark Zubair and Kulbhushan Kharbanda.
Yes, Mark Zubair, yes.
Mark
Lovely
Zubair died.
man.
Mark Zubair died.
Yeah, he died.
Yeah. So Mark Zubair, it happened with Mark Zubair, it happened with Kulbhushan, it happened with me, and now probably with a lot of other people. He says, Mahesh has this knack of sitting with one person day and night, 24 ghanta, and you think he's your closest friend. And then he'll squeeze every detailed life out of you and absorb it. And then he says, he used the word, then he hangs you out to dry. And then
So are you guilty as charged,
and then he hangs you out. Then he hangs you out to dry, and you feel, nahi, abhi he'll come and take me, he'll come and pick me up and unclip me and take me back, but he never comes back.
So are you guilty as charged? I want to ask.
I feel guilty because I think we steal from life, and life where does life happens to people. So you see you kind of scrape through the wounds of people, and you listen to their tone and you listen to their voice, and you listen to them deeply, and then they exhale something in you which is unpurchasable. So I would say that instead of reading from books, I read people. I read people.
That's
and
right.
I consume people. And that's what sustained me. So
this is something, Mahesh, subconsciously I learned from you in life over a period of years, and now it just struck me just now. I said I am like Mahesh Bhatt, because he studied people and squeezed life. I do the same thing today in life for the last 40 years or whatever. Subconsciously you have mentors, you have people you learn, like that Saab or everybody whom I was very close to. I learned a lot. But I've just realized, abhi click hua mera bulb, ke ye jo hai aadat of observing people and getting to know people and squeezing everything out of them, you learn a lot and you get to judge people, and you use that to, in the good way, to help people in that way. And I think this, Mahesh, I learned from you. I must tell you that, and thank you for it.
Well, there's always something that gets transported into the other. I inhale, and what you exhale, and you inhale what I exhale.
I remember an incident which Rajesh Khanna.
I was going to ask you that.
Where याद है हम लोग सब बैठ के दारू पी रहे थे और राजेश खन्ना काका तुमको लेने आया था घर से, मेरे घर से. And then you went.
Yeah, I think he was friendly with. He was friendly with. He was friendly with Tina and those days.
Those days, yes. Yeah. And he went to him, कहते मैं काका के पास जा रहा हूँ. मैं कहा काका मेरा रिश्तेदार है, उसकी बहन की शादी मेरे cousin से हुई है, लता की, जो was his real sister, was married to. So Kaka and me went a very long way. We've been very close. That's another story. So he went with Kaka, picked him up, and Mahesh was back in maybe 45 minutes to an hour. He was back. क्या हुआ? घंटी बजी. कह रहे हैं, fail with it. I don't want to do it. He wanted to do a film. I said, I don't want to do it. He walked away. मैंने कहा, you refuse, Rajesh, करना? कहते, no, I don't want to work. I will work my way, otherwise I will not work on the highway.
Can you elaborate on that?
Well, I think what happened was, I mean, he was very warm and very generous. I remember he was a very kind man. He was a real original superstar. I mean, he was a lion-hearted guy. I remember he invited me over, and then I was talking to him, and I think Tina was very keen that we worked together. And I think what happened was, before we actually started discussing what possibly we can work on, he expressed his opinion about a very iconic film released in those days, which was Gandhi, was by Richard Attenborough. And he felt that, like most actors naturally feel, that the portrayal of Ben Kingsley was nowhere close to what possibly he could have done. So I said, look, first of all, every actor is entitled to his ambitions and his delusions, right? Because that's what is necessary to sustain your craft. But there is a performance which is there right in front of you. And how can you possibly say that it was not up to the mark? So we had a kind of a powwow on that, you know. I would not shut up and
no, that's not Mahesh. Should shut up.
tactfully silent. So I remember. So I said, okay, fine. This is the conversation. I think thanks to Richard Attenborough and Gandhi, this conversation this evening comes to an inglorious end. So
and he was back.
So I got up and I walked out. So Tina came. I remember Tina came running after me. She said, "Hey, hold it, don't go. And if you're going, let the car drop you. We'll drop you." I said, "No, I'll walk it from there." She's staying in Carter Road.
Yeah.
One was, I think you require those this arrogant streaks in you when you are down there to survive. Otherwise, it's a very difficult terrain in which you can plow your way and create a space for yourself. But while I remember that evening, I remember that he very respectfully came to pick me up. I remember he was very charming, and in fact, I remember him as an assistant, because when I joined the movies in 1970 as an assistant production manager, he was acting as the hero in a film called Do Raste.
Yeah.
So my association with him was of a person looking at a star, and then suddenly life had brought us right there. And I'll never forget what he said to me later on when I met him years later. I'll never forget what he told me when he was way past stardom. And I met him in a plane. I was coming back from Patna. I'd gone for some Bachpan Bachao Andolan march to save children for Kailash Satyarthi, the Nobel Prize winner. And so I came in a little late, and I guess who was sitting there? Rajesh Khanna on the front seat. He had come for joined the Congress party, and he hadn't come work. So I sat down and we warmly said hello to each other, and then we had a journey. And so what do you do in that journey? So you talk to people. So I asked him a question, just to remember. I said, tell me, when did you come to know that you are not the Rajesh Khanna, you're not the star that you once were? When did you actually come to know this? And I'll never forget his pause. He took a heartbreaking pause. First of all, he was quite taken aback by the directness of my question. Right? Because people don't have this kind of conversations. So I remember he looked away, and then he smiled, and then he turned to me and said, And one day the flowers stopped coming. What? He said they used to come in trucks. They used to come in tempos. They used to come on cycles. And my house used to be filled with flowers. There was to be no place kept left to keep it, to bouquet of flowers. So much so that Anju used to be friendly with Anju Mahesh.
Yeah.
She had to take the flowers and keep it on the streets outside. And the world outside would know today is Rajesh Khanna's birthday. He said, then when I started sleeping, I found myself getting up in the morning, full of dread, wondering what are the numbers, how many numbers of bouquets I've got this time. And then I would go and count them, and they were getting lesser and lesser and lesser. And then one day the flowers stopped coming. And I said, oh my God, the way he retraced those painful memories. And then he talked about Rajesh Khanna as if he was an alien which had descended on his rooftop, whom he had caught a glimpse of, and who suddenly came and hugged him and spent some time with him and then ran away. He was talking in that way. So I remember telling him, I said, I'm very moved by this. It's candid conversation of yours with me. Why don't you write a book? Why don't you write it? There's never been a star like you in the industry. And that was the pre-digital age, and the entertainment media was not at its peak. But you can't imagine his stardom. So he said, okay. But then when I asked Penguin to get in touch with him, he had a wrong idea about what books can bring you, the monies, and what movies bring you. For books, you don't get that kind of money. So that the deal fell through. And I remember saying this, I said, great people die twice. Once when their greatness dies, and when they physically die. And if the gap between the two is large, then you suffer in that. And I saw that happen to this amazing superstar. Perhaps the word superstar was coined for him. It was for him that was coined.
Yes, absolutely. I mean,
he has seen that superstar come to his little cubicle, which he used to live in, and pull me out and take me.
But I have a similar story, Mahesh, about Kaka. Because I knew him from way back before he became a star, because as I said, his real sister was Lata, who was original. He was adopted by Lall Khanna, and his real father was his elder brother. So I knew Lata because she was married, and him and me came very close to each other at a very young age when he was just becoming a star. And I remember him buying a black Mercedes MRF 9299. I remember the number. And he said, Rajan, maine gaadi kharidi. Tu chala, tu rakh. And he was fond of cars. He bought a Lotus. He bought all this. So I've known him from those days. And he used to wear this silk lungi kurta, which later on became my habitat, which is still there. So I've known him from those days. But as he became a star, he became a partner with Jimmy Narula, as you know. And he made films, everything. As years passed, he became a different person after his stardom. He became a different person. And I remember it was Jimmy's daughter's wedding.
Yeah.
It was Jimmy's daughter's wedding, Kamna's wedding, and Tina was coming for the wedding. So, and I was those days staying at my bungalow at Lokhandwala, and Jimmy told me that Kaka's coming, so please take him to your bungalow and entertain him because Tina's coming. And those days after the split. So I took him to my house, and I had a huge bungalow where I had moved in after Pali Hill, that small place, into a huge villa, and then went into films in the 90s and whatever happened with Apu Raja and whatever else. So I took him to my home, and he willingly came. He was happy to see me. And Dharamji came. So he brought Dharamji with me. So Dharamji and me were sitting down in the garden with him, and Dharamji with his usual little towel, cleaning his sweat. He said, Rajanji, maine car dikhao hai, bada changa kar hai. I like your vanity. Those days, vanity was just starting. I had made my vanity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see it. And he completely came to a tour of my house, and he was all praises for the lovely work Varsha had done. And I told Kaka, I said, Kaka, come, I'll show you the house. And he went and saw the house. He had an anger in him. And you know what? After a while, he held my kurta like this. He says, "Tu kisko bata raha hai ghar? Tu kisko bata raha hai ghar? राजेश खन्ना को घर बता रहा है, मेरे को घर बता रहा है." तो मैंने कहा, काका तेरे को क्या हो गया यार? You should be happy that I have done this and successfully done. He said, तू मेरे को दिखा रहा है? तू क्या समझता है अपने आप को? Now that is Rajesh Khanna, and that was his downfall. He could not appreciate others' successes or whatever else it was. So I've known him very intimately, but then, he became a lonely soul. Eventually, I met him at Om Shivpuri's funeral, and he was wearing a kurta and pajama and a chappal, and the kurta was stitched from the side. I was shocked to see that. He was in a white Fiat car. And I've seen him in those days. So it was very sad that, his own ego kind of took it away.
Yeah, but when you look at people through the prism of time, you see that success is like a mental shock.
Yeah.
There's a current of insanity. They get swept. I keep on telling I used to remember telling my child who became a big star. I said, "Look, beta, success is like surviving a bomb blast.
Yes.
That are not the same. So understand that you're a human being, and remember that you live off your craft of acting, which is essentially being all the time empathetic to human beings. Empathy is what you need. And of course, stardom is what you market. That's your marketing, that's your show window. But you must not become the first member of your own fan club. Yeah. And that's one thing that my daughter has learned and kept, in her mind at the center stage. And I think that's very difficult for young people, especially who come into this maddening world of glamour and dizzying power and retain their sanity. And most of them become victims of this. That's why
most of them,
world over you have people.
And I'm proud of Alia, really, Mahesh. I'm so proud of Alia. I remember as a child, she used to come home and stay with me with Anji and Anushka and all this to come. And I met her long back at the Women Achievers, and she came running to me. And she came running and hugged me and said, "Uncle, how are you?" And it was such a nice feeling to have. She has remembered, and she's grounded. She's very grounded. And I think that comes from a lot of training from you and Sony. And Sony also has been.
Yeah, I think that's most important, being grounded. And I think one of the reasons why she has even surprised us, because she was never in the film circuit.
She wasn't. Yeah.
She was always out of it. And yet, how could she appropriate all this?
Yes.
Is something I keep marveling at.
Tell me something about Gulshan Kumar's story and Vishesh Films with you and Mukesh, because that's how it all started.
Well, according to me, Gulshan Kumar was an amazing man. He was one of his kind, and I remember I was shooting with Talat Aziz for a film called Maqam, which was not made, which was completed but not released. And somebody came and told me, "So there's a gentleman called Gulshan Kumar waiting for you there near the door." So I looked at him, and he was a very warm-looking man, smiling, had a very babyish face. So I walked up to him, and then he said, "Aapka naam Mahesh hai na?" And then I said, "Haan." I said, "मैं शिवजी का भक्त हूँ, और मुझे शिवजी ने बोला कि आपके पास आओ, और मेरे पास, मैं गाने कंपनी चलाता हूँ, टी सीरीज मेरी कंपनी का नाम है, आप मेरे पास कुछ गाने हैं, आप चाहें तो आप अपने गाने रिकॉर्ड भी कर सकते हैं, जितना एक्स्ट्रा चाहिए आप हमारे लिए एक फिल्म बना दीजिए इन गानों के बेस को बेस बना के। तो मैंने कहा अच्छा, हाँ, बोला कि फिर म्यूजिक मेरा और बाकी हम शेयर कर लेंगे। तो मुझे तो पैसे की समझ भी नहीं थी कभी। तो माय ब्रदर यूज्ड टू बी
I know.
unemployed in those days because
Okay.
Smita had just died, and
Yeah.
so I told him, I said, get this deal done. Let's make the film for him because he seems to be sincere. And to be very fair to him, he was the man who had the vision to approach me and use my expertise to make a film. And then he promised me that I will make sure that the songs of this film will play in every house in India.
Yes.
Which he did. I remember I was shooting for Dileka Mantani with Amir Khan and Pooja in the jungles of Madhumalai. And there we heard the song playing of Ashiki. So I said, so Pooja came to me, Papa, Ashiki song. And I said, wow, what a man. I said, he had promised me that he will make the songs resonate all over India. And he has lived up to his words. So Mukesh was just managing the process between of the line producer, as they call it, right? But essentially, it was Gulshan Kumar who kind of was the Gangotri.
Yes.
He was the Gangotri of Ashiki. And
I remember meeting also you sometimes in the office there when I was with him when I launched Apu Raja. You must be knowing that.
Yes.
When I did Apu Raja with him and Gulshan and Jimmy Narula, his partner, was coming. He was going through tough times, so I gave Jimmy a little share. And he told me, as I have a friend, he'll buy audio video rights and everything called Gulshan Kumar. So I met Gulshan Kumar for the first time, and he says, I gave him Mahesh a 10% share in Apu Raja. And it's a very funny story, which nobody knows. It was Rajan Lall and Gulshan Kumar presents Apu Raja. He went to Jimmy and he says, Jimmy ji, agar Rajan nu asi 10 lakh rupees deiye और उन्होंने कहा गुलशन कुमार एंड राजन लाल प्रेजेंट्स करें तो कैसा रहेगा? तो जिमी ने बोला था यू डोंट नो राजन, ही इज नॉट डूइंग इट फॉर द मनी, ही इज डूइंग इट बिकॉज ऑफ दिस. एंड दैट वाज द ओनली टाइम इन हिज लाइफ, आई थिंक, व्हेन गुलशन कुमार's name came second after me. And after that he became such good. He was a great man. I'm telling you, he was absolutely a great, amazing, brilliant,
he was
genius
one
man.
of his kind.
One of his kind.
Can I just interrupt? We are less than a minute. So I can send you another link and we continue this conversation.
No, I think I have somebody waiting for me. I think we are done. We will only be reiterating.
Yeah.
But I would only say it is great meeting Rajan. Thanks to his initiative to call me. I'm very happy that he's doing a book which chronicles his journey. And actually, the history of nations is nothing but the story of its people. And I think if you want to study the story of India at those times, you have to tap into the people who have lived through those times. And I'm very glad that he's doing it. And I'm very glad that you are excavating all this from his heart and from us.